Hello and welcome to the Geekology channel. My name's Trev and today we're going to have a look at the Salnote Dioko Crinacle planar headset. This is a Crinacle twist on the original 7Hz design, one which he seemed to really like compared to 5 other similars. And so I decided, with the wealth of choice that there is out there, to go for this one. Crinacle being one of my favourite reviewers, and I thought if he's willing to put his name on this, it must be half decent, at least for a planar headset. Why have planar drivers suddenly become popular? Simply because a manufacturer's managed to make a Square Planar Driver that's 14.6 mils long, and this Square Planar Driver seems to be very popular amongst lots of different companies now, and they've all got their little versions of it. KZ have not gone that way. Apparently they said they were heavily involved in the development of the SPD but weren't happy with the results, and they've gone their own way with a 13.2 mil planar driver, which they say is pure, and this one is an imposter. Why are planars supposed to be so good? Well, put simply, there's magnets in a dynamic. The magnets in a planar are smaller, but they're there, and there are no magnets in an electrostat. No magnets means there's not going to be as much oomph in the sound, theoretically. Smaller magnets means that might still be reduced compared to the oomph of a dynamic. But if you've got smaller magnets, you might be able to get a faster sound going. And if you can actually get more of the sound across the diaphragm, which is what a planar does compared to the push-pull design of a dynamic, then you might get faster sound in the mids and highs as well. So what the planar tries to do is to be a halfway house between the bass and relative roughness of a dynamic and that beautiful mids and high smoothness of an electrostat, where you get so much detail but the lower end is not quite there. Given the planars are supposed to be technically really good, and hitherto they've been quite expensive when you've been buying them as an IEM, what are you expecting to hear differently compared to your dynamic? Well, first of all, I don't envy you if you've gone from dynamic in-ear monitors and you're looking now the first time at planars, because when you're looking at a $99 planar like the Dioko Salnote 7Hz, it's going to sound rather less full. Is your immediate impression going to be, you're like, God, this sounds thin. This sounds sort of like weedy. There's no bass in it. You need to spend time, get your brain and your ears to adjust to the planar sound, because it is radically different from that of which you'd find on a dynamic. After you've spent time between the two and you've A'd and B'd for a few hours probably, you'll find that the sound of the dynamic starts to feel like it's a bit overwhelming and bloated and not quite as crisp and detailed and airy and wide as that of a planar. Even then, many of you may just think, I'm sending this back. This is not for me. This is not the sound that I'm looking for. And I can understand that completely. For the first couple of weeks, I didn't listen to anything other than the Dioko, so as my head could get round the sound of it. So it's only recently that I've started putting on other in-ear monitors so as I can compare the two. Initially, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to turn down the volume of your dynamics compared to the Dioko. The Dioko says that it's over 100, its sensitivity is over 100 dB and its resistance is 16 ohms. So there's no way you would normally need anything other than your smartphone with it. But even with the KA1 that I just used, I had to have that up at quite high volume, and I turned it down by a factor of 50% when I put on the NA2s. The NA2s immediately had more bass, more warmth, and seemed to have more detail. It was only when I A-B'd for a little while that I found that crispness was so enticing on the Diokos. Planar headsets may not be for you, and maybe we're not quite there yet with planar headsets around this price range. Maybe they need to put a dynamic or something in there as well. I've enjoyed my time with the Crinacle. It's not going back. I'm quite happy with the sound, and for things like synth and orchestral music, vocals, everything just sounds so different. Anything different is like a fresh experience for me, and I'm all for that. Well, this has been a very short introduction into planar headsets. I think there's a long way to go before they are absolutely fantastic. At the moment, they're simply just good, and I think you could probably get more enjoyable sound from similar dynamics price-wise. Until the next time, it's good day from me and it's good day from him. And please do not forget to subscribe if you like what you hear.